I did a pickup once for a slightly older-looking dude from a nightclub. He got into the back seat with a significantly younger woman who seemed either really drunk or really high. I couldn't quite tell, but I could smell liquor and weed, so really it could have been either, if not both. The guy, on the other hand, seemed pretty sober. Naturally, this sent of massive alarm clocks in my head, but I decided not to ask questions and just drive them to where they wanted to go. Neither of them said anything for a while, and because it was so late at night, I wasn't really feeling a conversation either, so I didn't say much either. I kept looking back at this dude for a while, though. Something about him just wasn't right. He was older than most of my clients, around 42, 45, with slicked back dark gray hair and brown eyes. No facial hair either, save a small tuft on his chin. The most notable part was his teeth. Whenever he smiled, which he was for most of the trip, I got a glimpse in the rearview mirror. They were crooked to the point of looking jumbled, like they were just dropped into his mouth at any odd angle. Most of all, though, they were sharp, like seriously sharp. They looked like they came out of some sort of carnivore, not a human. This really gave me the creeps. The worst part was yet to come. When we finally arrived at his destination, it wasn't a house. Well, it hadn't been a house for years. I'm sure you have all seen the photos of abandoned houses on abandoned streets in Detroit, and this house looked just like that. Nevertheless, I pulled up to the curve. "Are you sure this is the right address, sir?" I asked, while checking my phone to make sure I had gotten it right. "No response, sir?" I ask again, still looking down. No response. Finally, I look up into the mirror to see ... nothing. No one was in the back seat, not the girl or the man. I checked, and the doors were still locked. I wouldn't normally, but when driving around certain areas, you need to lock the door. How the fuck would they have gotten out if the doors were still locked? Also, my hearing is in pretty good condition. I never even listened to loud music, so I would have heard them leave. Also, looking outside the windows, I didn't see anyone walking. It was a real job. I had been paid for the trip, so it's not like I had imagined the thing somehow. To this day, I have no idea. In Detroit, a lot of people go missing, adults and kids. It just so happens that I transported a man and who I thought was his son out into the middle of bumfuck nowhere, just for the dude to kill the kid and burnt the body. At least that's what the police told me after rounds upon rounds of questioning. You see, after I had finished that trip, I called it a day and went to the local corner store on the way home to pick up some things. And lo and behold, who do I see on my milk carton other than that same fucking kid? I called the police, and it went from there. They never found the guy, but have linked him to 3 other missing children in the area. Hey, this one still messes with me. I always save the best, or in this case worst, depending on how you look at it, to last. So here's the one that keeps me up at night. I pick up this woman just outside of downtown around midnight. She hops in and starts to berate me, asking me why I took so long. Taken aback, I apologize. She immediately starts to break down and cry, sobbing, and just tells me to drive. The trip's a long one, half an hour to the airport. Along the way, she starts to talk several times before just going back to crying. Eventually, she spits tea out. "He's coming after me." That's all she said. I asked her if she needed me to call the police, but she said they wouldn't do anything for her. "He's going to take me away with him," she blubbered out between quiet sobs. She went on to say other things, but they were inaudible mumbles. The last thing she said before I had to drop her off was, "The Nain Rouge, and he's getting close." Yeah, that was all the motivation it took for me to get her out and for me to speed off as fast as my shitty little Prius could go. The Nain Rouge, for those of you who don't know, is what I once believed to be anther bullshit fairy tale about a little demon that roams the streets of Detroit, causing all the bad things to happen for the city and dragging people back to wherever he came from. Not being a superstitious person, I never believed in it. Now I do. Why? Because when I checked the news later that day, the woman I had picked up was found dead. Not too strange, but definitely creepy that they found her body. The part that got me was the fact that police said she was dead for at least a month before they found her. It was around 10 p.m. when I got the notification for a booking. The drop-off location struck me as odd, but I didn't think much of it at the time. It was quite a ways from the city, and I didn't think people even lived in that area. The fare was a considerably large amount, so I decided I could make this my last ride and get home a bit earlier than usual. I was just by the pickup location, so I was able to get there in under 5 minutes. A tall, slender woman settled herself in the back seat. She was gorgeous. Short brown hair, impossibly perfect bone structure, and the brightest green eyes I'd ever seen on a human being. She looked to be in her mid-20s. I greeted the woman as she entered the car. "Good evening, Lauren, right?" "Yes. And you, dear Yasmin?" "Yes," she asked me, in a tone that sounded far beyond her years. "I'm sorry, your name, dear." My passengers rarely asked me for my name. Usually just got in and stared at their phones for the entire ride. Guess she was just trying to be nice and make conversation. "Yes, nice to meet you." "Likewise, Yasmin," she responded. It was quiet for a few minutes as we drove to our destination. She spoke up again a few times and asked me about my life. What I did for a living, my family, my hobbies, etc. Then she asked me about my kids. "Is your husband watching them right now?" "No, my cousin babysits them until I get home. She's nocturnal, so she doesn't mind the late nights." How nice of her. I was starting to get a strange feeling about Lauren. It was odd to me that she was asking me about my kids in the way that she was. My passengers didn't normally converse with me, and when they did, they would mostly talk about themselves. Then again, I could have just been overthinking. That, or it was from the burrito I had that morning. Grumble. Definitely the burrito. As I started to feel more uncomfortable with my bowel situation, I checked the map to see if there were any gas stations near the drop-off location. I couldn't find any, which was unsurprising. There was no way I could hold it until I got back to the city. Grumble. As much as Lauren creeped me out, I couldn't just shit my pants. So I mustered up all my courage and asked her, Lauren, this might be an extremely unusual request, but would it be all right if I used your restroom, of course, dear?"
That
"That would be no problem at all," she replied. I was looking at her through the rearview mirror and thought I saw her right eye twitch. Must have been my imagination. We'd arrived at a seemingly average suburban house. The kind with a white picket fence and a well-maintained front lawn. Nothing out of the ordinary. "Thank you for the ride, Yasmin. Shall we?" Lauren asked me as she exited the car. I followed suit and accompanied her to the front door. "We're actually having a small get-together at the moment," she said to me, and spun around to ring the doorbell before I could respond. A young woman had answered the door. Again, very attractive. Man, what did these people eat? She had similar features to Lauren, which lead me to believe they were sisters. They had the same brown hair and green eyes. "Hello," the young woman greeted us. "Rose, this is Yasmin. She's here to use our restroom," Lauren explained. "Yasmin, this is Rose, my younger sister." "Nice to meet you. Sorry for the intrusion," I apologized. "No apologies necessary, dear." "Come, let me show you the way," Rose said as she took my hand and led me inside. We're actually having a small get-together at the moment. That was eerie. The way they spoke was nearly identical. Rose even said the exact same thing Lauren did. And the way Rose called me dear, when I was probably a decade older than her. When we went through the dining room, I saw their small get-together. There were at least 10 other people in the dining room. They all had the same brown hair and bright green eyes. Even if they were all related, it was strange how even the shade of brown and green remained consistent. I felt a chill run down my spine. The way they were all just sitting there, staring at the food in front of them. Perhaps they had been waiting for Lauren to arrive, but it was still a disturbing sight to see. I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when we exited the dining room, partly because, what the fuck? And how I was seriously about to shit myself. Here we are. Please let me know if you require any further assistance. I'll be in the dining room, Rose said as she walked away. Thanks, I called after her. I shut the door and was finally able to relieve myself. I checked my phone to see if I received any messages from my cousin Samantha. Wednesday, 8:13 p.m. Samantha. Hey Yas. Successfully put the kids to bed. Wednesday, 10:47 p.m. Me. Thanks, Sam. I'm just making a quick pit stop and I'll be headed home soon. Samantha. All good. Take your time. I'm just watching some TV, me. All right? I'll call you when I'm on the way. Samantha. Okay, stay safe. I pulled my pants back on after cleaning myself and then flushed the toilet. As I washed my hands, I noticed something off about the mirror. It seemed as if it was a part of the wall. It kind of made the alarms in my head go off. I read about this somewhere. I needed to confirm my suspicions, so I placed my finger on the mirror. There was no gap. It was a two-way mirror. I nearly jumped out of my skin when I heard a knock on the door. Yasmin? Is everything all right in there? I heard Rose ask me from the other side of the door. Yeah, sorry. Be out in a sec, I told her. I looked away so that my back was facing the mirror and shot Samantha a text message. I told her to call me if I didn't get to call her first within the next 15 minutes. I put my phone back in my pocket and walked out into the hallway where Rose was waiting. We were wondering if you would like to join us. She smiled at me. It was unsettling, as if she was up to something. It was like I could almost see it in her eyes, something behind them that I couldn't explain. I felt conflicted, like I wanted to get the hell out of there, but I was also extremely curious. No, I shouldn't. I have to get home. It's getting late, I replied. It'll just be for a bit, she said as she took my hand once again and led me toward the dining room. The only empty seats were beside Lauren, so I decided to sit next to her. Rose took the other empty seat beside me. I noticed a huge painting on the wall from across us. It was a painting of a handsome man with chestnut brown hair and eyes like evergreens in a forest. He looked inviting, warm, almost like a familiar face in a room full of strangers, which was impossible since I'd never met him before. I just felt comfortable. I decided to ask about the man. Who's the guy in the painting? That's Father, Lauren answered eagerly. I can see the resemblance, I said awkwardly. You're too kind, dear. Isn't she just lovely? Everyone in the room nodded along and agreed with Lauren. Some of them even decided to throw in their own compliments. I was confused because my statement was fairly neutral. You should eat, dear, lest the food gets cold, the man who sat across me suggested. I looked at the plate in front of me. It was a relatively normal meal. Mashed potatoes, roast chicken, and some steamed vegetables. I looked at everyone else's plates and realized that they had been untouched. What about you guys? Aren't you going to eat too? I asked hesitantly. Yes, of course. But we believe the guest should do the honor of starting us off, another man stated. I took my fork and picked up a piece of chicken, but my phone rang. Saved by the bell. I'm sorry. Let me just take this phone call. You guys can eat ahead, I said as I started to get up. That won't be necessary, dear. We don't mind if you take the call here. Rose took my hand and gently pulled me to sit back down. Right, okay. I muttered, then proceeded to answer Sam's phone call. Samantha, what's wrong? Where are you? It's getting late. Me. Hey, Sam. I'm so sorry. I might be home later than expected. Do you think you could stay a bit longer? Samantha. Yes, are you okay? You told me to call you in 15 minutes. Me. No, it's all right. Make sure you put the lasagna in the fridge. Samantha. Yasmin. I hung up the phone and looked around. Everyone stayed silent as they watched me with their emerald eyes. Lasagna in the fridge was our code for trouble. I silently prayed that she had gotten that. You're such a good mother, Yasmin, Lauren remarked. Everybody else agreed and started fawning over me. Thank you, was all I could say in return. I decided to focus on my food instead. I took a bite of the unassuming mashed potatoes and was pleasantly surprised. It was just the way I liked it. Creamy and buttery with a few chunks in each bite. Wow, this is great, I blurted out without meaning to. Of course, dear. This is Father's recipe. Everything he does is absolutely great, Rose said proudly. Yes, Father does no wrong, the man across me agreed. I decided to try the chicken next. I could see why they liked this Father guy so much. He had some really good recipes. I ended up eating everything on my plate. Everyone else finished all their food too. I mean, who could blame them? Thank you so much for the lovely meal. I enjoyed it. But I really do have to get home to my kids now, I announced. I hope you still have room for dessert, Lauren said as she entered the dining room, holding a covered round plate. I didn't even notice her leave the room. I must have really enjoyed that meal. There was a voice in my head that kept trying to remind me that I really needed to get home, to get to my kids, to get away from this place. But once Lauren revealed the cake, all I wanted to do was eat it, and that terrified me. That fear went away as soon as I dug into my slice of cake. It was divine. Must have finished the whole thing in one bite. It was literally the perfect chocolate cake. Each layer was moist, yet still retained its fluffiness, and the chocolate ganache was to die for. It's getting late, dear. Maybe you should stay the night, Rose suggested. No. I needed to get away from this place and whatever the hell was going on here. I had to take my kids to school in the morning. Sam was waiting for me. She probably wanted to go home too. That sounds like an absolutely great idea, dear, I responded. I had no idea why I said that. Rose's smile turned sinister, as if all the grace and innocence had left her face, like she had a mask on the entire time and had finally revealed what was underneath. Her voice remained sweet when she said, "I'm sure Father would think the same way as well." She led me to the guest bedroom and said goodnight to me that she would see me in the morning, all the while having that menacing grin on her face. Once she shut the door, something snapped in me as if I had just woken up. I checked my phone and saw that I had a dozen messages and a few missed calls from Samantha. One of her messages stated that she called the police and that they were on their way. I sighed in relief. Everything was probably going to be fine. The Uber app had the info of where my last drop-off location was, and the cops were going to arrive any minute. I decided to have a look around the bedroom while waiting. Maybe there was something I could use as a weapon, in case they tried anything before the police arrived. On the wall behind the bed, there was another large painting of the man they called Father. I still felt the same way about him when I saw the first painting. I was almost sad this place was probably going to get busted and shut down or something. I looked at the wall across the bed, and there was a mirror that looked to be a part of the wall. Just as I was about to do the two-way mirror test again, I caught a glimpse of my reflection. What I saw made my blood run cold. My eyes, they were turning green. At the time, I had the entire lower main floor unit I lived in to myself. I used to bartend, manage a nightclub a few blocks away, and would usually get home around 4 a.m. This night I had just finished a 12-hour shift, was exhausted and hungry, so I decided to order some food. I placed the order, get my joint rolled, and ready for when the food arrives. Put on a movie and wait. Eventually I hear the doorbell ring, and being alone, and it being late at night, I waited to get the photo sent to the delivery app to verify. My food was at the door, and so I didn't have to make small talk with the driver, as post-COVID I still kept the option for contactless delivery. 3 to 5 minutes pass. I see the photo of my food on the doorstep and decide to get up and go get it. My bedroom window had 5 large windows that gave my full view of the path along the house. It's the main street in front, our garbage area, and the area right in front of our unit's door. The driver is still out there, and now he's texting me to come out and get my food. I tell him he left it in a perfect spot. I'll be out shortly to get it, and thanks for delivering it. At this point, I'm waiting for him to go, because even though marijuana is legal here, people can still be judgmental. And I don't want to go out in my PJs to collect my food smoke and see a human after working all night. He doesn't leave. Keeps texting me to come outside. And now I can hear him talking to another male voice, although my window view obscures anyone else that might be out there. The food in the photo was right against my door, and I can see him edging it away and off to the side. So, to have to fully step out and around a small corner to collect it. I keep texting him, telling him it's in a perfect spot. I'm glad he followed the instructions. I'll be out shortly. He starts banging on my front door, still occasionally talking to this other male voice. My food is now further away from the door. He won't stop banging and telling me to come outside. Eventually, I tell him I set delivery, as no contact as I have COVID, a lie, and don't want to get anyone sick. After I saw he'd read my message on the app, put my food back by the front door and walked out of there through the back parking lot. Initially, he came in through the front of the house. Something about this entire encounter felt so off. I waited about 15 minutes until I couldn't see anyone or hear anyone, quickly opened the door and grabbed my food. The whole ordeal lasted about an hour. My food was nice and cold. The joint was out away for another day, and my heart was racing for the rest of the night. I work as a delivery girl for Uber Eats. Usually deliveries go quite well. But occasionally my GPS app will have issues finding the right address, and I will get a little lost. I was on my last delivery of the night before going home. I picked up the food from the restaurant at about 6:45 p.m., just as the sun was setting. I put the drop-off address into my GPS and drove to where I thought it was. My GPS led me past 2 apartment complexes and into a residential neighborhood. I passed one house. As soon as I drive past it, the porch lights come on. That's not too out of the ordinary. Some people have automatic lights. What was odd was there was a bright red SUV with some pink writing on it, S-back window, parked just off the side of this house. Essentially, this house ended. There was a tree and some bushes right by the door, and this car was parked just past these bushes. Anyway, my GPS tells me to keep driving in a very small private road just past this house. Its address is, of course, wrong, but I decide to get out and take a look for the address. Maybe it was one of the houses, or I could see an address on the apartment buildings. I walked back to the house that had the SUV parked next to it, as this was the nearest house to the one my GPS told me to go to. As soon as I come into view of the house, porch lights come on again, which is odd because I didn't even cross in front of the property this time. The porch lights coming on let me read the address and realize this was not the place either. I consider going down the alley by the SUV, but something in my gut tells me that's a bad idea. I get back in my car, drive around for 5 more minutes. My GPS tries to send me to the same place again, so I decided to stay in my car, but drive by all the houses and try to read the addresses. I drive down the whole road, no match. Then I did something dumb. I decided I would try to read the writing on the back of the SUV. So I drive past the house, porch lights come on and stay on. I try to read it, and I can't make anything out. Then, I see a face pop out of the bushes next to the SUV. Well, as much of a face as possible. This person is wearing a ski mask. He gets out of the bushes, and he is wearing all black clothing. He taps on the window of the SUV, and another person in a ski mask and black clothes comes out of the passenger side of the SUV. They both start fast walking towards my car. I notice something shiny and reflective in the hands of the one that was in the bushes. I can't say for sure if it was a knife. I wasn't going to stick around long enough to find out, though. I throw my car into reverse and speed out of there. I looked back one time as I drove away. Both men in masks had stopped walking towards me, but just stared at my car as I drove off. I called the cops shortly after. They called me back and said they investigated. But the SUV was empty and nobody was at the house. They made sure I was safe and called it there. I don't deliver after dark anymore.